Burnout doesn't usually make people think they're incapable. It makes them feel unsure. They start questioning things that used to feel obvious: their decisions, their instincts, their ability to trust themselves. What's confusing is that nothing dramatic happened. Confidence didn't just collapse, it slowly faded. This matters because self-confidence is often treated like a personality trait, something you either have or don't. Burnout shows that it isn't quite true. What often gets missed is that burnout doesn't attack confidence directly. It changes the conditions that confidence needs to exist. When those conditions fade, people don't feel incompetent. They feel uncertain. And uncertainty is where confidence starts to wobble. In today's video, we're going to look at 6 quiet ways burnout wears down self-confidence. Not through failure or weakness, but through everyday pressure that builds over time. Seeing these patterns clearly doesn't fix burnout, but it helps confidence stop feeling so personal and confusing. Number 1, small decisions start feeling heavy. One of the first signs of burnout is how hard small decisions feel. What to say, what to start, how to respond. Things you used to decide quickly now take more effort. You pause, you second guess, and after a while, that hesitation starts to feel like a confidence problem. Why can't I just decide anymore? But the issue isn't ability, it's mental exhaustion. When your mind is tired, signals get fuzzy. Confidence hasn't disappeared, it's just harder to hear. In the short term, people delay decisions. Over time, they stop trusting their instinct. That sets up the next pattern. Now, as you listen to the rest of these, notice which one feels familiar and leave a comment. Most people recognize one right away once it's named. Number 2, overthinking becomes a safety habit. Burnout often leads to overthinking. You reread messages, you replay conversations in your head, you prepare more than you used to. At first, this feels responsible, but underneath, it's a quiet worry. I don't trust myself to show up anymore. Confidence normally comes from knowing you can handle things as they happen. Burnout replaces that with a need to control everything ahead of time. In the short term, overthinking does feel safer. But in the long term, it teaches your brain that you can't be trusted without extra effort. That belief slowly weakens confidence, and it changes how feedback feels. Number 3, normal feedback starts feeling personal. When confidence is steady, neutral feedback stays neutral. When burnout is present, it doesn't. A question feels like criticism. A small correction feels like proof you're failing. Even something simple like a manager or a client asking, "Can you walk me through that again?" suddenly feels heavier than it should. This isn't being too sensitive. It's being too tired. Burnout makes the brain look for problems because it doesn't have the energy for balance. In the short term, people become alert and defensive. In the long term, they assume they're doing worse than they actually are. That belief affects how effort feels. Number 4, working hard stops feeling reassuring. Normally, effort builds confidence. You try, and afterward, you feel steady. In burnout, effort feels empty. You work hard and still feel behind. You try and still feel unsure. That is unsettling. People start thinking, if this much effort isn't enough, maybe I'm not good enough. But the problem isn't you. It's that effort isn't being rewarded with relief. Now, in the short term, people push harder. In the long term, effort becomes linked with doubt instead of confidence, which leads to something more personal. Number 5, self-worth shrinks to performance. This is where the problem stops being about work and starts being about identity. Burnout slowly turns confidence into a scorecard. On productive days, you feel okay. On low energy days, confidence drops with it. Instead of "I'm capable," the question becomes, "What did I get done today?" The problem is that burnout lowers energy first, then uses that drop as evidence that something is wrong with you. What happens in the short term is that we monitor ourselves constantly. In the long term, we lose touch with who we are outside of output. Confidence can't stabilize there, and eventually this happens. Number 6, rest starts feeling dangerous. At some point, burnout makes rest feel risky. Not because rest doesn't help, but because stopping feels like falling behind. Behind on work, behind at home, or behind on expectations you didn't choose. So people keep going even when they're exhausted. Without the right kind of rest, confidence never gets a chance to rebuild. There's no space to rest or regain perspective. In the short term, this keeps things moving. In the long term, it locks us into ongoing self-doubt, not because we're weak, but because recovery feels unsafe. Burnout doesn't destroy self-confidence. It disconnects it from the condition it needs to work. Seeing that clearly can be grounding. The doubt feels less like a flaw. The confusion starts to make sense. That steadiness matters more than trying to force confidence back. So, which one of these patterns stood out most for you? Drop it in the comments so we can talk more about it. If you want to keep understanding more about how burnout quietly changes how you see yourself, there's more clarity we can build from here. This next video might be the one that can clue you in on how burnout can play games with your head. I'll see you there.